So everyone, thank you so much for joining us this evening. You'll notice that your microphones were muted and also your cameras might have been off. So I apologize. That might have been me when I set the Zoom meeting up. I'm not sure. We do ask you keep your microphones muted for the time being so that we'll be able to hear Stacia as she's speaking. We will have a Q&A later, so you'll have a chance to ask some questions, or you can enter your questions in the chat box at the bottom of the screen. It's my pleasure this evening to welcome Stacia Morris, who is the author of Teen Money 101, and she's the founder of Your Money Trek. She holds a post-MBA certificate in accounting and an MBA from Pace University, as well as a BA from the University of the West Indies, where she was a college track star. Stacia. See, I asked you if I was pronouncing it right, and then I did it wrong. Stacia also holds financial insurance certifications and works as a financial advisor. Her background includes global leasing, finance, consulting, information technology strategy, business intelligence, and complex project management for Fortune 500 companies. She spent the majority of her corporate career at IBM Corporation in a variety of roles and has received recognition from the Connecticut legislature, the Brooklyn Borough president, and from Pace University itself, where she was a Pace legend as the first alumna commencement speaker at Pace University Pleasantville's graduation ceremony.
I am a Pace legend. I'm still alive, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. Yes, you are. Yes, true. You are a Pace legend. Yes. And Stacia has also been a featured speaker at the 100-year anniversary of the Girls High School and the 2017 University of the West Indies recognition of graduates in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And with that, I will give you Stacia.
Okay, good night, everybody. I see a couple of my, my sisters don't like me to call them my posse, but I see a couple of my people I mentor on. I will give you a shout out. You know who you are. Thank you very much. I see some surprise names there. So thank you very much for coming on to support me. Thank you for everybody else who are here, whether you're a Pace alumni or Pace student or whatever. Thank you very much. I have to thank Michelle for giving me the opportunity to do what I love to do. People who know me know that I love to talk. I love to inspire. And if my story inspires anybody, I just love doing that. So what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to talk to you about my story, but my story can be your story. And I just hope that part of my story resonates with you. And when we get to the end Q&A, we talk about the applicability of a lot of what I'm going to share with you tonight. I usually talk fast, especially when I am passionate about what I'm talking about, but I make sure to pause where I should pause so that you would just benefit from what I want to say. So I'm going to share my screen, and let's share my screen with my presentation. Gonna do the presentation thing and do a slideshow. Let's get the slideshow going from the beginning. So you're here tonight. Hope everybody's here tonight to listen to this presentation, which is called Ready, Set, Reinvent. Let's do something here. Okay, Ready, Set, Reinvent. And it's really how to maintain relevance in a dynamic world. And Michelle gave you on my background. Right now, I'm a financial advisor, and I just started Your Life Trek instead of Your Money Trek to encompass a lot of what I'm doing. And I get to some of that stuff as we go along. So tonight, we're going to talk about Ready, Set, Reinvent. As I said, I'm going to walk you through my personal journey where things happen. Some were intentional, and some were life, things happening because of life. And then we talk about the current dynamics and what we face with COVID. So I usually go back. I started life really early. I was an early athlete and a really good track athlete. So when I talk, I bring in the athletics thing. So, you know, when you're an athlete, you get ready, you get set, and then you should go. A lot of people would be so anxious to go that they would false start. And if anybody have athletics background or you look at the Olympics, you realize that the rules have changed. It's one strike and you're out. Think of an athlete who spent 4 years training on the blocks, false start, and that's it. I mean, if I were in their shoes, I'd just sit and cry. But in life, we can false start and then we can start again. It's not one false start and you're out. So that's really good for our lives. So here, ready, set, people tumble on each other, people fall, life happens, and then we get the opportunity to reinvent. This is such a beautiful thing that you can reinvent yourself. So we start off with expectations, or nobody, usually if you have mentors, they might tell you, oh, you'd hit some roadblocks, etc. But I think the majority of us, when we grow up, we don't expect roadblocks. We expect to go straight. Whatever the career path is or whatever, we expect a straight shot. It's not usually a straight shot because reality hits. And when reality hits, what would you do? Are you going to do this? Are you going to sit, stoop, and cry? Or are you going to get up, hit the ground running again? I recommend, and I have done, I've hit the ground running. And people who know me know that I've been down pretty much times. Life has hit me. It's going to hit us all in some shape or the other. But the thing is, just get ready and get up, hit the road running again. So I said life would happen. You have to prepare for the unexpected. But we all know that nobody prepared or nobody knew that COVID was going to hit us as it has hit us. So you can't prepare for everything, but you need to make some plans and you need to have stuff in your back pocket that would allow you to reinvent yourself and become relevant. And we are talking about relevance here as relevance in the job market, relevance to go get a job, support yourself, do what you want to do. So I go back to the dictionary. What does reinvent mean? And usually I tell people when we were growing up in the Caribbean, my dad was a headmaster, I'd get to that. And today you want to find out the meaning of a word and you Google it. Well, my siblings and I were just chatting recently. Our dad was our Google. We would just say, hey dad, what does such and such mean? And he would tell us. I think we got lazy because we didn't use the dictionary as long as he was in the house. Anyway, I'm going to use this definition of reinvent, to remake or to redo completely. So most of what I have been through has been remaking and adding, and you'd see what I mean as I go along. And then relevance. What is relevance? For me, relevance is reacting to a dynamic world. The world is going to change. The world has changed. But we have to be ready to play in it at all times. So on those definitions, I couldn't stop. I had to put these pictures because I love to travel. Plane, trains, automobile. I love that automobile. I could never own something like that. Don't have the money, even if I had it. I drive fast and the cops would just pick me up all the time. So it wouldn't be a wise thing, even if I could afford it, which I can't. So who is Stacia? I was born in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. My mother was a housewife, then she became an adult learner, and that's probably why we got that consistent learner thing from. And then she became a nurse. My father was a headmaster, elementary school teacher, and he was the first entrepreneur I knew. He had a farm that he went to before he went to school to teach and after he came back. I grew up as a bookworm and an athlete, and I ran track, and I have 6 siblings who are my support team. And growing up was, well, it wasn't, I don't know, probably intentional on my parents' part, I'm not sure, but then my next moves were intentional. Next move, I went to college. I went to University of the West Indies, and I was funded by a Canadian International Development Aid Scholarship. I ended up with a BA honors in economics and history, and I said before I was an athlete. And while on campus in Barbados, I influenced the installation of volleyball courts and games. I love volleyball, and I love to sew. So I influenced the purchase of sewing machines and setting up of a sewing room. I also influenced a Scrabble competition, and it was fun because my partner and I won the first ever Scrabble competition at K-Field. So people felt it was funny that every day I'd go by the library to put up the winning team, and it happened that the winning team consistently was me and my partner. After college, I went back to my home, and I became a teacher, high school and adult ed teacher. And I planned to really stay in the Caribbean as a teacher and just stay in the Caribbean. My plans changed. Life changed. And when life changed, I moved on to the Bahamas. And lots of university graduates, usually from the lower Caribbean, they would either go back to their home or go off to the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, where we work for tax-free dollars. And most people would then come to the US to do their master's degrees. And that's what I did. That was my track. So I went to NASA. I was a high school and adult ed teacher. And my plan was, and this was very intentional, because NASA for me was nirvana. I didn't have siblings to babysit. This was the first time in my life, except when I was at college in Barbados. This was the first time in my life where I had nobody to babysit, nobody to drop off anywhere, no piano recitals to go listen to, free as a bird, lots of friends, played tennis, played volleyball, went to the beach. I mean, it was life. And you think I would have stayed on Nirvana. No, I had my plans, and my plans after 2 years was to come to the US to know my master's degree. So onto the US, this was intentional to come to the US. And it was also intentional to come to Pace University. And I tell you why Pace. As I was thinking where I should do my master's degree, I was stuck in the Barbados airport for about 3 days when I met somebody. At that time, my island did not have a direct airport, a big international airport. So we had to fly to Barbados, then go to St. Vincent. And I was stuck in Barbados for 3 days. Met a lady whose kids started to play with me because they were frustrated. I was frustrated. And I got to talking to her. She so happened she was doing a PhD at NYU. Pace has and had a very good record for accounting, master's degree in accounting. And my friend suggested that I go to Pace University. It was interesting that when she came back to the US, you meet people as you travel and they say, we keep in touch, but how many people keep in touch? This lady kept in touch with me, and I kept getting Pace packages from New York, which I know New York City, but then I kept getting Pace packages from a funny place called Pleasantville. And I tell you the role Pleasantville played in my life. BJ, my friend, she became my mentor later. Her ex-husband lived in Pleasantville. She went to school in New York City, and they both sent me Pace packages. So came to do my MBA at Pace. I planned to do accounting, but these were my plans: do accounting, and then go back to the Caribbean. Plans change. Tell you why plans change. When I came to Pace, I realized that the accounting MBA took 2 years. I only had enough money for 18 months. And I didn't know, which was a good thing, that as a landed resident, I could borrow money to go to school. I didn't know that. That was really good that I didn't know that. So I thought my pocket of money, that's all I had to spend. My friend BJ suggested I switch from accounting to what Pace had just implemented, a fast track MBA in computer information systems. So I did that. And I tell you later as we go along that I'm a risk taker. I usually like to take educated risk. This was a big risk. I had never seen a computer before. I had only seen airport terminals because I tell you I love to travel. And here was I planning to do an MBA in computer information systems. So what does this mean? This meant, and when I got here, I lived in Greenwich because my parents had moved to Greenwich, Connecticut. So therefore I had access to the White Plains campus and the Pleasantville campus. So all of a sudden I knew this place, Pleasantville. I knew how to get there. So I switched to computer information systems and went from White Plains campus in the morning to Pleasantville campus. I did classes 9 to 12 White Plains, 1 to 4 Pleasantville, And then I spent the rest of the day until about 11 p.m. in the Pleasantville lab. So didn't know anything about computers, but I ended up with an MBA in computer information systems. And I very nearly ended up with honors. And I beat myself up when I didn't get an A or so. But that was really, really stupid, but it was my own money and I had to get the most out of my money. Well, as my friend BJ had told me when I switched to computer information systems, I was recruited by IBM because Pace had a lot of adjunct professors who worked for IBM. And at this time, in that Pleasantville Valley, there were lots of IBM locations. So I was recruited by IBM. And remember I said I was going back to the Caribbean when I was done my MBA? Well, because I had a job, most of my family members, all my family members were in the US. And my life changed again, so I decided to stay in the US. So here am I, an IBM employee. I added a post-MBA in accounting. Now you may wonder, why did I bother to go through this torture of doing a post-MBA in accounting, and Pace has a certificate of advanced graduate studies. And when I got to this country and realized that businesses paid for you to go to school, IBM was going to pay for my post-MBA. And I had promised myself to do accounting. So I went back to school and I added the post-MBA in accounting. But this is one of the best things that I had done, because unknowingly, I was setting myself up for just being very successful in business because I was tying information technology and accounting. Literally, I moved from jobs to jobs in IBM, and I really looked good because not only did I understand information technology, started life as a programmer, did business systems, then leasing, did lots of methodology. And then I went to Latin America and did Latin America operations. I lived in the US when I worked for Latin America. And for 3.5 years, I was almost every 2 weeks, I was in 3 different Latin American countries. Just to comment on the Latin America setup, for those of you who listeners who are from the Caribbean, you know that we don't go to Latin America. We never look south. We want to come to America. We want to go to Canada. We used to go to England. Well, when I was offered a job in Latin America, I literally said no. But when you work for a big company and they want you somewhere, they tell you that's your job. So I literally told my, the story I just told you, I told my general manager, listen, people from the Caribbean never look south. We only look north. Well, I was told my job was there. And I took a 2-year assignment and I had so much fun that I continued for 3.5 years. That was the best part of my life and my working life when I worked for IBM Latin America. So you think I would stay at IBM forever, right? My plan was to retire from IBM as everybody at that stage in life did. You know, we work for these companies and we stay forever. I thought I was going to do the same. No, plans changed on me. This was not intentional. September 11th happened. IBM, this was the time when of Enron and the lack of opportunity in the energy and utility and telco field, and I lost my job at IBM. So my plans changed without me changing it. But as usual, I had to get up and go. So I took all my skills and I started doing business and IT consulting. Later, I did everything, all the parameters I did, took all the classes to become a financial advisor, went back to corporate America, and then realized I really like to be a free bird. I really like to consult on my own and be a financial advisor. So this part is very intentional. So today, who am I today? Today, I'm a financial advisor. I'm working with a partner at a company. And I am doing with my sister, I'm doing some executive leadership coaching, still do business consulting, big on my list. Still an author, I wrote 2 books. I speak a lot. So after the international speaker, on Thursday, I will be speaking for the University of the West Indies, doing a discussion on financial wellness. So coming soon for me is my new website, Your Life Track. On February 2nd, I'm going to launch. And then I have a person I call my producer who wants me to do a podcast. So that will be coming sometime. during this pandemic, I've listened to a lot of webinars. Like some days I can do 2 webinars a day, listening to how to set up podcasts, how to set up online courses, and just making use of this time. I also made use of this time with my IT background. I worked with my brother and we looked at different systems, and we've put we've digitalized his business, his soccer coaching business, and I've digitalized my book and other things. So I've made use of this. So all of this is intentional. So it's really lovely when you can, even during a pandemic, do things that are intentional. So as I got ready, I want to talk to you about my personal values and everything that came together as I got ready. We're still on getting ready here. I'm a Christian. I'm a daughter, sister, aunt, friend. I'm very kind. And when I tell people I'm very kind, I am kind to myself too. And you need to be kind to yourself before you're kind to anybody. And being kind to yourself means that you keep the ability to say no when you think you should say no. I have high integrity. I'm a risk taker. I'm very bold. I show up and I'm prepared. And as I said before, I'm a continuous learner and I'm intellectually curious. That keeps my intellect on edge. I usually deliver and I give back, and I also volunteer. Getting ready now, education. As I said, I did the BA in economics, MBA in computer information systems, went back and did the accounting, and then all these licenses. So just well stocked with education. And career and experience. I'm just going to show you a quick view of my career. Just a lot of different things I've done. I'm just going to flash the screen up. You don't expect anybody to read it. I'm not going to read it either. But I just logged a lot of different skills and traveled a lot with the companies I work for, particularly the US and Latin America. So I want to get to build up my brand. I just talked to you about my values, my education, and my experiences. And you have to brand yourself. So what's my brand? My brand is that I'm Black, I'm a woman, I'm religious, I'm family oriented, highly educated and skilled, trustworthy, authentic, delivery focused, have global experiences, do community work, I travel, and I'm a voracious reader. So what's your brand? Usually when I throw challenges, I like people to think about the 5 W's and then the 2 H's, how and how much if it's appropriate. So we deal with the 5 W's for your brand. Who are you? What do you bring to the table? Why would someone hire you? What are your skills? What do you bring to the table? How are you different? How do you stand out from the competition? And then where do you want to go and when? Now, these last 2 questions, they're very difficult to be answered during the pandemic because we can't say we want a job in California or whatever, where seems to be internet, Zoom meetings, etc. right now. And when, yeah, people are still hiring, people are still getting jobs. So you can get the when thing, but where the pandemic is, when would we all socialize and be in a big room again, wishing, praying for that, but we don't know when. Another who I'd like you to consider is who are you taking with you? Who do you travel with? Who are your friends? Who are your companions? Are you around people who are pessimistic or optimistic? I would challenge you to find as many optimistic people as possible to be around. I tend to, in my life is short. There's a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of stuff to get done. So I tend to surround myself with optimistic people. Maintaining relevance. I'm just going to go through again how I was able to maintain relevance with my education experience, brand, etc. Just my personal journey. I had no roadmap. If you had a roadmap pre-COVID, I'm pretty sure it's changed. But I had a toolkit. I had a toolkit that had in what I'm calling foundational skills, which I continuously replenish through continuous education and being intentional. I mean, I didn't just happen to have passed the 7, which it just changed. It used to be the series 7 used to be a 6-hour exam. Last October 2019 was the last time they had a 6-hour exam. I happened to have done that 6-hour exam. I tell you, by hour 5, I was fried. I don't know how I went on through hour 6, but on one go, that a lot of younger people haven't figured out how to pass it, I passed that. So I'm very intentional when I want to set up and do something. Like, for example, I told you I'm going to launch my website on the next week, Tuesday. I was going to do it at the beginning of January, but so many things were happening in the US that it didn't make sense. But next week, Tuesday, it's going to be done, whether I have to not sleep Saturday and Sunday night. It's going to be done. So I'm very intentional, and I do take risk. I try to take educated risk, but I do take risk. Other foundation, so my foundation skills are 5-part. Teaching, student of history, student of economics, computer information system, and finance. So I'm going to bridge for you how these 5 foundational skills have just helped me throughout my career. Teaching, what did teaching do to me? Now, we know that teachers are not well paid. Teachers should be the most highly paid people in the world because you touch young people from formational people. And I say once a teacher, always a teacher. I'm always teaching, whether I'm mentoring somebody or whatever, I'm always teaching. My siblings taught, my parents taught, we coach. Teaching builds your communication skills. It gives you the ability to talk to anyone, anywhere. I've done global workshops. I'm a source of knowledge, even though I've left the leasing industry for a while. I can go in my garage and pull all my leasing books and know everything that I've done. And right now, I'd say I'm a source of knowledge for financial wellness. Then student of history. What does history do for me? It's allowed me to think critically. I'm current on information because I'm a voracious reader. When I did my bachelor's degree in history and economics, it was the day before multiple choice testing where everything was essay writing. So you had to read a lot and you had to write essays. So I learned to read a lot, read very fast. And history gave me all that critical thinking skills and currency of information. Economics, analytical skills, how to use algorithms. I worked for IBM for 9 years after getting my MBA, and I had to take back my business calculus books to IBM because I was working on leasing methodologies where we were doing algorithms. So if you're doing economics or any kind of business calculus, understand it, keep those books, don't give them away because you may need them somewhere down the line. I can't talk enough about computer information system skills. And I think everybody on this call would agree with me. Computer information system skills allows you to think logically. Languages may change, but the input-output process never change. And I give you an example of what computer information system skills have done for me recently. My sister had a desktop that died after 2 years, and she was going to refurbish it. She was just going to recycle it. I brought it to my home, and for those who on the call who have done the C prompt on a PC, I brought her desktop back to the C prompt and I built it back up. And I kept it because she was going to give it away. Now it became mine. So these skills are never lost. The other way I used this skill recently, I told you I learned some platforms to put my books and my courses on. And I was telling the people, the support people on the platform, what I wanted to do. And if the platform didn't allow it, I found other ways to do it because of that skill. It's still there with me, though I haven't been a programmer for ages, but I can still program. Finance and accounting skills, business. Every business needs income and expense and balance sheet. These skills are always needed. So are you getting ready? The world has changed. Maybe you're ready, you're set. Do you need to reinvent yourself and be relevant? Attributes to relevance, I'm going to go through these quickly because I have the 10 key ones. Flexible, have a mentor, great attitude, technically savvy, continuous learner, global, take risks, travel. I'll pause and learn languages. One of my younger brothers, he speaks Spanish fluently. I'm so jealous. When I worked for IBM Latin America, I was getting there, but I never got there, and still trying to get there to speak Spanish fluently. I'd say work hard, have fun. It helps if you like your office mates and your teammates. Be an entrepreneur and an entrepreneur so you can think and take risk. And heavy on my list is volunteer and giving back, being someone's angel, and challenging yourself. Find your passion. During this pandemic, people have been finding their passion, finding their purpose. It's been difficult to network, but there are lots of informal online networks that you need to network. And you also need to toot your own horn. Yes, that can come off as being, just you talking about yourself, you're just full of it or whatever. But if you don't toot your own horn, who is gonna? And if you don't tell people who you are and show them who you are, they might not know who you are. So I do this. And when I was growing up in the Caribbean, my brothers used to do this for me when I was an athlete. They told everybody I was going to win. And that was good. I didn't have to toot my own horn then. And I said, go for it and be intentional. So throughout my life, the threads throughout my life has been faith, my family, resilience, and continuous education, whether it's functional or technical. So which road are we gonna get? Or which road are you on, the straight or the crooked one? What's your life? Is this gonna be your approach? I hope so. This was my approach. I'm setting you up. Look at the next picture. This was my approach. And do you know who that person was? Who that person is? That's me actually winning a 100-yard dash in Barbados at the Barbados Stadium. I found that picture recently and I just had to throw that in. So let's pause on the relevance of the 10 attributes. I'm coming to the end where we can get into some questions and answers. You need to have a support system, whether it's your siblings, a mentor, a friend, you need somebody to talk to. I have a support system, as I mentioned, and the lady who was my mentor is the lady I met in the Barbados airport. I never really had a mentor on the job, but this lady has been my mentor, and actually I can talk to her, run stuff by her. You need to brand yourself. And to brand yourself, if you're not sure about yourself or who you are, how people portray you, how you portray yourself, how people look at you, talk to your friends, so somebody you can trust, and just ask them to constructively, not destructively, constructively tell you about yourself. And then whatever they tell you, if there are some parts you don't like, go fine tune the parts or go get help or go online, or I'd say get help. There's a lot of online stuff, but nothing beats talking to somebody and people you trust. And you must have foundational or transferable skills. If you don't have transferable skills, then you have to go get skills. You have to reskill yourself or upskill yourself. Make plans. It's difficult, but make plans. Take risks, be intentional. Nothing beats hard work. You gotta work hard, but have some fun or it gets really like drudgery. Be flexible and be focused. Be a continuous learner, make mistakes, and expect to make sacrifices or have sacrifices. So those are my 10 top attributes. Are those attributes applicable today? You may have to reinvent yourself and you may have to become relevant because the world has changed. The world has changed. What would jobs look like now? People work from home. A lot of stuff is digitalized. Types of jobs still, computer technology, customer service, online work, entrepreneurship. As I said before, during this time, people have just reflected. It gets to you, and it could be morbid that with all the virus and people getting sick and people passing away, etc., you may sit back and say, what's my purpose? What has been my purpose? Am I working just for money, or am I working in my purpose or my passion? Am I getting up in the morning and saying, oh, do I need to do that again? Or are you getting up with some vigor and saying, wow, let's see what I can create today? Are you prepared? Are you positioning yourself? There's changing nature of professions and they're changing models, how business is done, new jobs, new careers. But with every challenge comes opportunities. So let's just touch on some opportunities. As I said, there's changing nature of professions, changing business models, service, how are things delivered, people are job sharing, part-time work, there's the gig economy, you can find consulting work, and new opportunities, new niches. And I say to people when I mentor people, it's what's in your hand? What has been placed in your hand that you can develop, embellish, and we need to live and we need to pay ourselves and we need to eat. So what can you monetize? Is there any inventions in your hands? What can you find and what can you capitalize on? During this time, I have looked at what's in my hand and peeled through a lot of stuff that's in my hand. And something I've done recently, I found a young lady who I'm mentoring. She's Hispanic and we are bartering. I was mentoring her and she's translating my book into Spanish. I always wanted it translated into Spanish. So once I flipped my English course online, I'd quickly be putting the Spanish one up, and it's all through bartering. So new jobs, new opportunities, COVID contract tracer, crisis counselor, health and safety manager, life coach, specialist, financial advisor. And oh, by the way, I have these in alphabetical order. I would have put financial advisor at the top if I didn't have it in alphabetical order. Medical products, telemedicine, online tutor, personal shopper, virtual assistant, warehouse worker, etc. I want to pause on the financial advisor part because the world has changed for this job. Usually a financial advisor would be out there meeting people at their homes, meeting people at their offices, etc. Today we can't meet people, or meeting people is limited. So you do more phone calls and Zoom meetings. And there are lots of Zoom meetings, as you know, going along. So my challenge to you, are you getting ready? How many people on the line needs to reinvent either themselves, reinvent their career, or if you're in college right now, look at what are you doing when you get out of college? What would the job be like? So I've discussed Ready, Set, Reinvent, my personal journey, the 10 attributes, current dynamics. And usually when I talk, I do a call to action. And the call to action tonight is, are you going to reinvent yourself and remain relevant? At this point, I'm going to thank the people who attended. Thank everybody who attended. Thank you for listening. Let's have some questions if you have questions. So that's my information. If you need to send me an email, I should tell you when I did this. I did this same message and speech to University of the West Indies in 2017 and then last year, October. And when I did this, after I did this, I have developed or acquired some Jamaican mentees and some business associates and a Trinidad mentee also. So I've stretched there. So if you ever need to connect with me, send me an email and I would respond. So on that note, Michelle, we go into questions. Should I address the questions that I had first?
Yeah, I think that's great if you want to address those. And for the rest of you, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat. Or if you like, Stacia, if you're comfortable, we can have people unmute their microphone if they'd like to ask a question, whichever you prefer.
Sure, I like that. I'd like to see the people who I'll be answering. So the first one I have is, do you agree that drastic changes in the workplace, business strategy is project start, build, roll out, and leave? And this person thinks that this is a constant contributor. Because the question has in project start, build, roll out, and leave, this reminds me of a whole project phases. These are phases of a computer program, computer process. So my answer to this is, this asks if there are drastic changes. There's not going to be drastic changes in the process, as I said. The process is to start a project in terms of getting project requirements, business requirements, doing business analysis, doing the building, whether it's coding or buying a platform, and then rolling it out to the users and leaving it for the users to use. The process is going to stay the same. How this is done is going to be different. People would have to be accustomed now to managing or being a project manager remotely. You have to build up the skills to work with remote teams. So that's the major thing that's going to change. The next question I have says, I am in transition and the job search has been a challenge. Please share strategies that work for professional women of color at 50. My first thing as I saw this is I said to myself, this person is in a sweet spot, because a lot of companies now are focusing on diversity and inclusion. So woman, color, 50. Triple goodies for diversity and inclusion. So I am going to say to that person, check your value. What value do you bring to the table? Because people are not going to hire you because of these triple goodies. They're going to hire you because you bring value to the table. Are you a project manager? Are you technical? Are you an accountant? What do you bring to the table? Marketing, whatever skill you bring to the table. And then I'm going to say, you need to network, network, network. People get jobs today because of people they know. That's the fastest route of getting a job. And join online networks. There are a lot of networks. Go do a search, go on LinkedIn and look for, if you want to do the color, a Black women network, or there are lots of networks you can look at. One network I would suggest you look at, it's a group called Power to Fly. I did a financial class and workshop for them once. Power to Fly finds jobs in corporate for women with different skills, diverse, age, color, whatever. Color. So if you're listening to me tonight, I would suggest you go look at the Power to Fly website. So the next question, what trends in self-reinvention do you see on the horizon? Self-reinvention, I just talked about looking at your passion, looking at your purpose, and your profession. And if you're very intentional, you would be able to find those three things. What's your passion? Why do you get up? What's your purpose? And if you can't find your purpose and your passion in your profession, I would say go join a volunteer group. Go volunteer, make people feel better. When you help make people feel better, you feel really good about yourself. And as I said, during this time, a lot of people have done self-reflection. Review your skills, review your passion, your purpose, and then I go back to the 5 whys. Who are you? Who do you want to work for? Where do you want to work? When do you want to work? How do you want to work? And here I'm bringing in the H's. How much do you want to work? For example, do you want to work full-time? Do you want to work part-time? Do you want to work in the gig economy? Does your finance allow you to say, let me work 3 days a week? I am doing 3 days a week as a financial advisor. I'm not fooling myself. I know that 3 days a week can become 40 hours, but at the top of the week, I want to do marketing and other stuff for everything for my passions and where I see my purpose. And on Fridays, I do marketing or do admin for everything. So it's like an accordion. Where's your fit? And your fit is your passion, your purpose, and your skills. Where does it get you? Those are all the questions I have, Michelle.
Great. And we have some from the chat box.
Okay.
The first one is, how do I stay motivated and encouraged during this pandemic?
Wow. I'm sorry. I'm smiling. I'm laughing because that's a hot button for me. If you live alone, it's tough during this pandemic. You have to have a support system. You have to have a support system and you have to have a plan. You have to structure yourself. I know, some of my siblings might say I'm too structured, but if I wasn't structured, I probably would run away from my own life now. But you have to structure yourself. You have to have some goals. When you get up in the morning, what do you do first? Don't spend all your time on email and Facebook, etc. Set yourself some goals. Set yourself goals that you can make in the short term and some stretch goals. You have to set yourself some goals. You have to find something you're passionate about. For example, during this pandemic, before the pandemic, I had started a group at my church in recognition of my mother. I started a mission, and it's called Connie's Circle. I'm teaching women to sew. And during this pandemic, we put a program together. We quickly flipped, and we made masks for frontline workers. And my mother was a nurse, so and my sister was a nurse too. So we made masks for frontline workers. So set yourself some goals. Get up in the morning and work on your goals, and invite people to be a part of your circle, because you have to have people. My siblings are the only people I see right now, except when I go to the grocery store or when I wave at a neighbor, but my siblings are the only people I see. So, but I work maybe from 8 a.m. in the morning, sometimes until 11 p.m. because I have multiple goals. So everybody doesn't have the same set of goals, but set yourself a goal. Find a goal. If you want to come talk to me and let me help you find your goal, then shoot me an email. But you have to have a goal, want to work at it, have some end dates, and you can pat yourself on the shoulder now and then when you have achieved something.
Great. We have someone just popped in and said, please advise of a great resource or website to learn to sew.
I don't know one, because I have always sewed, and I've been teaching people to sew. I have the ministry at my church, Harvest Time Assembly God in Greenwich, and my vision was 6 machines, and then I probably have about 50 machines. We got lots of donations, lots of money, fabric, etc. I would have to go look, because I knew how to sew from the time I was 12, play with it, 14, told my mother, and she agreed. I made my own clothes from the time I was 14. So I really don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I tell that person to shoot me a note or something. I may have to do some research.
We also have just a comment that looking for a job remotely is difficult. So do you have any suggestions or resources that you would recommend to kind of ease that process?
Suggestions, I'd recommend first that you have a very strong resume. And once you have that strong resume that talks about you, and if you want resume tips, I was going to put resume tips on my website, but I didn't want the pressure of having to put the stuff on now. But that would be there. Come February 2nd, I'd have resume tips on yourlifetrek.com. Have a strong resume, but I tell you, nothing beats networking. So see if you can find a network to join, online network. Nothing beats networking. Show up at some networking events. Join LinkedIn. There's a financial executive network group. There is a technology executive network group. I'm sure Pace, Michelle, you can tell about.
There's a Pace alumni group, and we have a few regional groups as well.
Right, Pace alum group. But not only that, Pace has a job center, don't you?
So we have a career services office, and we do have a career counselor who works specifically with alumni. We actually have been doing monthly career services, pretty much monthly career services sessions. I think the next one is February 16th. So I'll send everyone an email after, probably tomorrow or later this evening, probably tomorrow, of kind of thank you with Stacia's contact information, but also the website that you can go to find our full list of programming, because we do have career services programming coming up that could be of interest to some of you.
And Michelle, you did have earlier in the pandemic, you had resume writing, and you had some really good.
Yeah, that was part of that series. And yes. I don't actually plan that series, so I don't know the next topics that are coming up. But you can also reach out to Marilyn Kaufman in career services, and she is the alumni career counselor. That
series was excellent. I mean, I believe I know a lot of stuff, and I tell everybody who's listening tonight, attend as many webinars as you can attend, even if you get one tiny idea. I usually have webinars in the background while I'm multitasking, though I don't believe in multitasking anymore, but I have the webinars in the background. I listen to about 2 webinars per day. And that's the other thing for the person who say, how do you keep motivated? There's some great webinars out there, really. I take all the free stuff. A lot of people give a lot of free stuff and then they say, sign up with me for this or whatever. But with my ego, I don't want to sign up and pay anybody anything. I'm going to research it. Yes, I'm not going to pay you. I'm going to listen to you, take your tips, and then I'll go develop my own stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So we have another question from someone who says, I started my own business in the cosmetics industry and it's focused on sustainability. Do you have any tips on how I can stay relevant? I feel like without having a huge platform can be difficult in showcasing your passion and having people believe in your mission. So I guess if you're a smaller player right now, how do you capitalize on all the things you're talking about?
I'd say if you're a smaller player, again, network and form relationships. And I'm not just talking out the top of my head because that's what we have been doing. My siblings and I have been doing stuff. We found a great guy. I don't know where my brother Desmond found him, but he is a relationship builder. He took my whole, I did a map of everything that I could do, all my books and all my workshops and speeches and everything. And I showed this guy my map and he has found partners for me on every stage of my map. So just as an example, we've done a lot of work in teaching teens financial literacy using my book, Teen Money 101. This guy has linked me in with some people who have big, they call eco cities where they're teaching teenagers literacy and entrepreneurship. So I got linked in. So I'd say you need to form partnerships. Find specific partnerships where you are complementary. Don't find partnerships where you are competitive. Find a partnership where you're complementary in that chain. You have cosmetics, then you either find somebody who has another line of cosmetics that would merge into your own, or even maybe you can co-produce with somebody or something, but make partnerships. When you're small, you make partnerships. I always believe in a percentage of some actual dollars than 100% of zero. So you may have to give a bit as you sell, but form partnerships.
So the next question is, how do you build your confidence during these trying times?
Wow, these questions. and guys, as you may know, I'm not I'm a psychologist, so I can't tell you how to build from that perspective. But I go back to what are your skills? What are your strong points? You have to find at your core who you are and what you have. I've been very fortunate. I've been very blessed that I literally have a lot. When I show people the stuff I'm doing, they're like, yes, people say I'm not crazy. I'm brave. I'm just doing a lot of stuff. But how do you find your confidence? It has to come from inside. It has to come from your gut, from your inside. And the other thing I've been fortunate with and blessed, and when people ask me, we were blessed with the best parents ever. They told us we can do anything and we set out to do anything. But my dad said, you had to travel and you had to be educated. So we had to do that stuff. But it comes from your gut. It comes from who you are. Because I tell you, not that I'm very much a realist, but with the skills, with your skill set and network again, find people, find a mentor, find somebody who can help pull you out and see, why aren't you confident? You know, confidence comes when you realize what you have. And when you, not only what you have, but what you give back. Everything I have in my hand, I have given back. I've taught people for free. I've mentored people. I teach people to sew. I teach entrepreneurs. I also have another ministry at my church where we teach entrepreneurs anything you want to know, because I used to teach Women Business Development Center entrepreneurs. So I've done the whole training for entrepreneurs. So anything you want to know as an entrepreneur, I can either teach you or I can find you the answer. So give away, give back. When you give back, you feel good that you can give back. It makes you feel so good. Not that you are glad that somebody else is not doing well so that you can feel good, but it feels good to share what you have. And you'd be surprised when you give away, you meet people. You meet people as you give away who can bring you along. But
Yes,
I would throw it out. If we have any serious person out there, you have to be serious for me to mentor you. I don't, if you're not serious, then it's a very brief relationship. So contact me. Mm-hmm.
This question's a little similar to some of what you've touched on, but a little bit different. It's someone who is re-entering the job market after 5 years of absence is challenging during COVID-19. Any suggestions? So that's a little bit different than the scenarios we've already discussed.
Yeah, so you've heard me talk and every time I go back to what's in your hands, what's your skill set, what do you bring to the table? What have you been doing for 5 years that you can say, okay, well, maybe you can say I have volunteered or managed volunteers, or I manage a reading or book club at the library, or what have you done that you can pull some skills. If you notice what I told you, 5 major areas where I pulled skills from. Everybody has skills, and everything you do, if it hasn't been built on each other, you can pull skills. Everything doesn't have to be built up. It could be lateral, but you can pull skills. So look back, go do some self-reflection, go do a skill dump on yourself. You know, and there are lots of different courses you can take, or a skills evaluation stuff you can take. But what I would suggest too is look at your passion, your purpose. What do you want to do? And when you know what you want to do, go online and find some jobs that are like what you want to do, and see what skills the jobs say they want. And there are lots of free courses online today. A lot of universities have a lot of free courses, and there's some companies that today give you a certificate. I think Microsoft gives you a certificate if you do some Microsoft programs, etc. So there's online stuff you can do. So I'd say go look at your skills, pull some job descriptions, see what the requirements are for those job descriptions, see what your gaps are, and go fill those gaps. And go network and talk to people again. Find online networks.
Great. Do you mind, it's 8 o'clock. Do you mind going over for a minute
No,
or two? Because we have
no.
2 questions left.
No, I'm good.
Great, thank you. So this one is, thank you for your time. I want to work in politics, and it's well known that entry-level positions in this field are heavily exploited. Since this is relative in a multitude of fields, how would you recommend balancing out nitty-gritty entry-level work with knowing your value and demanding what you deserve? It's a great question.
It's a great question. If you're starting out, you can't avoid the nitty-gritty. You can't, but I would say keep your eyes on where you want to go, and let people know, because you can do the nitty-gritty because you see it as a trajectory. So it's a path. You're onto a path. You're going somewhere. Nitty-gritty forever, I don't agree with, because I always believe that you should be building. No matter when you start, where you start, what age you start, you should always be building and always have a plan. So nitty-gritty, yes, but let people know that you're on a path, and don't stay nitty-gritty forever. If it looks like forever, then move out of that company if you could, or as soon as you could, onto another company.
Great, thanks.
But as I said before, you always have to toot your own horn, and you have to tell people where you're going. I mean, I used to do that at IBM, and I was branded aggressive, but I really was assertive, not aggressive, but.
Right. And then the last question we have is, have you ever felt that it was time to move on, and how did you deal with it?
Yes. And that was one big mistake. I felt it was time to move on, and I allowed myself, I usually do my due diligence. Can you hear me, Michelle?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've been having some camera problems, so I'm frozen.
Oh, you are
just
frozen.
As long as you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Yes, just as long as you can hear me. So I allowed myself to be recruited by a company, and they recruited me because I'm Black and I'm a woman. And they were a quasi-federal company. So by December, they needed to have their numbers. So I was recruited.
We just lost you, Stacia.
And it was time to move on. And I was kind of fortunate. It was time to move on, and that was when I was at IBM. I had a new manager who I just didn't care for, a new general manager. My old general manager had retired, and I was told that my sponsor had left. And when you're told your sponsor has left, then you know there's no reason to stick around. So I actually got a buyout package from IBM, which was good, and that's how I handled. That's what I was very. It happened at that other company. I gave them a chance. This company did not know how to treat people generally. Really didn't know how to treat people. And I had been well treated at IBM. IBM treats you. They said I was well treated at IBM, and I'm the kind of person who has to be well treated. Or if I'm uncomfortable, everybody's uncomfortable. So those people became uncomfortable because they just didn't treat me right. And I indicated that I was leaving. Because of the skill set I had, I was always getting new jobs. I can always get new jobs. And the way I left that company, the second company wasn't the best. I don't know what's the best way to leave a company, but to give them 2 weeks notice or say, I'm leaving. It's time to move on. I don't know if I gave you the best right answer.
Right. That's probably kind of everyone's personal situation too. I'll just end by saying thank you. Patricia shared a link for everyone looking for free courses. Coursera is offering courses for free if you enroll by the end of January. And she included the link. So
I actually have Coursera written down on Deskpad. So yes.
Oh, great.
Yes. And you can find others. I think there's Udemy, and there are lots of others that you can go do a Google on.
Great. So if we don't have any more questions, then we'll just say thank you all for coming, and thank you so much for sharing your insight with us and your journey, and all of these kind of things to really consider and think about being relevant and moving forward. It's a challenging time for everyone. I would encourage, if any of you are current students or if you're alumni who are interested, we do have an alumni student mentoring program. I'll include a link in an email that I send out to everyone. And also definitely check out our Setters Gone Virtual website. We have the career services events coming up. We have some other great things coming up. We have a finance series every month. We have some faculty lectures. It's a great way just to kind of re-engage with PACE, and also join the LinkedIn groups and see if you can do some networking there if you're looking for that. We're trying to offer as many resources as possible. And if you have suggestions, always feel free to reach out and let me know directly too. Okay.
Okay. Good night, everybody.
Thank you so much, Stacia. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thanks. And thanks to my crew who have attended. Thank you very much. Okay. Good night.
Good night. Thanks.
Good night, Michelle.
Night, night.